evening and welcome to this edition of Bermuda Sports collaboration with the Legends of Sports. And I'm Earl Basin with Coach Hatcher, my co-host. Coach, tonight we have two special guests. We are waiting on Carlos, who's trying to get himself get in. But the two gentlemen that we have tonight, Coach, give us a sense of what they meant to you personally and what they were able to accomplish to move not only the United States but the world of sport.
Well, we got very rarely do you get a chance to associate with a particular sports legend that has made the impact in a particular sport like track and field, which is more of an individual sport, but can combinations into what you call a team effort for a particular need or cause or country. But it's very rarely that at this time in this world that you can have a legend, a world record holder, whose record in the Olympics, 50 plus years, has never been broken. Now that is something that's monumental because that means every other record's been eradicated through the years, but this particular gifted legend was someone that defied the odds and defied gravity, it looks like, at that particular time in 1968 in the Olympic Games in Mexico. And he's recognized by that one tremendous photo of the only man that's really stayed up in the air on a long jump that long. I mean, he was at least be 6 or 7 feet in the air. And became a not just legend of the Olympics, but a legend in the world. It's not a country you can't go in that no one recognizes, who knows sports, I should say. The feats of the legendary Bob Beamon. Not only he's a great guy, friend, someone you can always count on to help in any situation, such as the Olympics, and not just Olympic, but the Paralympics that we did for the World Wounded Warrior Games at Colorado Springs at the Olympic Training Center. He made himself available for that and endowed himself to the wounded warriors in all of the branches, from the Navy, Marine Corps, Army, Air Force. This guy has really made an impact, and he's a quiet guy, but he is something that every young man out there that's struggling, that's looking for direction, that's looking for a mentor, looking for someone to share some of his greatness and upcoming trials and tribulations to get where he is to now and be as subtle and calm and relaxed as he is. It's truly a pleasure. And right now, it's so much more EOT, but he has a story, oh my gracious. And what we're doing now, not only is he such a part of the track and field legends, is in the Hall of Fame. He's the only, I would say, African American, or his Olympic portrait is right next to Jesse Owens, and that's a heck of a trip. As soon as you come into the Olympic Hall of Fame, you see Jesse Owens, but you see Bob Beamon right next to him. Unheard of. I mean, that's how impactful he is. But he is something that I would always promote and really proxy for any coach or speaker or country to get a hold of this man, because he exemplifies the ultimate thing as a ambassador of himself, of his brand, and of the sport of soccer. Don't know too many people that don't like Bob. And the best part about it, Earl, you wouldn't believe this, the guy can play basketball. Hey, you know what I mean? He's not all, we out there proud. Bob, he runs track. This guy could, because he jumped so high, I guess that's why he got into broad jumping, man. And Max, was he go, no, this guy. But look, he got drafted by the Phoenix Suns. He's that good. and so on. He was debating whether or not to go to the NBA or the Olympics. He made a great choice because they'd have whooped him up. I'm tell you with that little thin body. But he's a great guy. And I got to bring him on now. He is a great friend, not only of all of us who know him well. I call him a personal friend because he's been on a campaign with me and Wally Jones all around and up the different places with Brigadier, not Brigadier, it's Lieutenant General Wayne Davis now, Wayne Williams, I should say, uh, with all of the calling of the wounded warriors and those that have lost limbs and things of that nature over the years defending our country. He's always been there to be a part of that from all over the world. And I got to bring him on right now. Earl, hey, fans, please, pay. You'll see him soon. He's very much a part of it. Plays golf too. Yeah, pretty good. This is Bob Beamon, one of the greatest Olympic champions of all time. A record still remaining with on the Olympic annals around the world. Bob Beamon, one of the greatest Olympic legends of all time. Hey, Bob, welcome back again, man, and welcome with Earl, man. Look, he's quiet right now, but he's a proxy, and he's going to be a very vital part there in Bermuda for expediting a lot of things we're trying to do, Bob. How's it going, man? Welcome.
Hey man, thanks a lot for a great introduction. You can tell Earl that I pay him a lot of money to speak like that to me. So, but first, let me say to both of you, it certainly is a pleasure to come on your program and to talk about what's been happening. I guess we can talk about what's happened 55 years ago, or we can talk about what happened yesterday when I was cleaning the leaves off the grass. So I can give you a 411 on everything, okay? But anyway, Earl, it's good to have you at the dial right there, coming in and interviewing me and also our other guests that will be on, John Carlos. So it's good to be doing some island talk,
Sure.
island info. So I'm here for you and to talk about what's ahead of us and what has been happening in the last years or so.
Okay. Well, actually, let's go back. How did you get your start in the sport of track and field? We'll get to the Olympic accomplishments, but what got you into the sport of track and field?
Well, I think for me and for many of us, I think sports became a hook because we had some other things that we were doing outside of the world of sports that didn't allow us to concentrate on sports. And so things that were socially unacceptable, getting in trouble, and doing things that we know that would probably give us a long time, serving time, being incarcerated. So, but sports became a wonderful hook for me, and particularly track and basketball. But track was probably the first place that I ever found that I thought I had a little talent by getting a little medal by running in the relays and things like this here. And so when I got my first medal, I put it on my hat, and I was so proud because I had never won anything in my life. And so track and field became at that time number one sport for me. But basketball was always on my mind. Coach, I'm telling you, man, I love basketball. And I played high school basketball, but track and field seemed to kind of weed that out as I got older and understood, what's expected of you in both of the sports. And so I chose to, I declined my uh, interest playing with the Phoenix Suns. Had the opportunity to play with the Harlem Globetrotters. And so basketball became secondary to me, but track and field was my number one sport then.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
when you
Yeah.
qualified for the Olympics, um, what was that moment like? Just
Go
meeting
ahead.
you
That's good.
qualifying stand.
Well,
That's
the
fine.
moment is so important uh, because sometimes we don't remember the moments because we're so concentrated into the things that we rehearsed so many years
Mhm.
before. And so what I had to do was to stay focused and to think about only one thing. I've rehearsed, I've practiced, or whatever you might want to call it, since I was 9 years old. And I'm 22 years old now. So this should be pretty much automatic. And so I put on the automatic pilot, and I can I can tell you when I ran down that runway, I ran with intense interest that I would be number one uh, by any means necessary. I mean, if you had to blow me out of a can, I would still try to win. So I'm just saying that that day was a perfect day for me, October 18th. And as I ran down that runway, I ran with the feeling that I'm going to get up in the air and get one out there so that I can qualify to get the next couple of jumps. The fortunate thing was that that jump, the first jump that you're actually watching, was the jump that won the Olympic Games. That's the one that I won the gold medal. So my second jump didn't make any difference. It was just kind of like, why are you even jumping, Bob? So, so for sure, that first jump was so important for me. And just going down that runway, the only thing that I can think about is those years that brought me to where I'm at, to where I was at that point, standing up there and getting ready to run down. So everything was automatic after that.
Okay. We're actually going to, Coach, we're actually going to bring in Dr. Jordan Collins.
Oh,
Unfortunately, his camera is not working, but he
that's,
can hear us. Good evening.
Oh, you guys, can you hear me okay?
oh
Yeah, we can
yeah.
hear you
Oh
well.
yeah.
Hear you
You're
well.
fine.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, Coach, you want to
All right.
introduce Dr. Joan Collins?
Oh yes, yes. They call it a two for one. I believe it. Normally, sports fans, listen. These guys usually do a two for one because of their dynamic friendship and their careers and their historical, legendary collaborations that they've done not only with the great things of the '68 Olympics, but worldwide through the civil rights and civil disobedience things and going with different causes that could be the underlying structure of the demise of our youth in America and around the world. John Carlos, Dr. John Carlos, I should say, if you see him and he's ready for the doctor, you'll know it. He'll put something on you that says, this is Dr. John Carlos. But right now, I know him as dear friend John Carlos. So, but he is one of the great speakers internationally. Him and Bob, of course. Bob just got back from France. And of course, John just got back from Belgium where he got an honorary degree, a doctorate degree. He had another one not long ago. But the guise of athletes supporting the civil rights era and supporting the trials of the integration of America, such as what I went through as well. These guys set apart because they did it on one of the biggest platforms in the world. the Olympics, the most well watched and attended sports event in the world. And because of that, it's not a country that does not realize and recognize the names of John Carlos and Bob Beamon. And of course, the dear Tommy Smith, I mean, God bless his soul, he's not with us now. But this is the guy that's carried the banner, and he's still doing it all over the world. And every athlete can do this. Yeah. Who's that? Bob? Is that Bob? Yeah. But it is up to Bob now, man. These guys are two freaking frat, two of a kind. They come out of New York together, was raised together, came up through the hard times, of course, but they came out and really made an impact of today's sports world around the world itself. So it's not a country you can't go in Olympic-wise that you won't hear or recognize the name and be honored. They were honored at the World Games, a special honorarium, I should say, for these guys. Let's talk about it now. I've always loved introducing them because I said, well, listen, I can say Carlos, I can say my man Carlos, but Dr. Carlos is something I'm very, very proud to talk. But hey, Doc, God bless you. Thank you for being a part. I know you're busy, you were free, but things happened, and you made sure that you cut away a time for an old friend and an upcoming content provider with Earl and Bermuda Sports. How you doing, my friend?
Hey, listen, man, I'm doing great. Hey, thanks for the invite. As well as coming to my favorite show.
Thank you. Go ahead, Earl. You got it now, baby.
Yeah. So, Dr. Carlos, tell us a little bit about your challenges coming up before becoming an Olympian, the struggles that you faced, in sport, out of sport.
So, yeah.
Well, I could go back very early in my life where, I was intertwined with athletics and race relations. As a young kid, I used to listen to the radio a lot and hear about this white woman was swimming the English Channel. And that kind of caught my interest because I was the best Harlem bathtub swimmer there were. So therefore, I want to know, at a very young age, what is she swimming the channel for? What is she going to get, a trophy? Is she going to get a name in the paper? She going to get some money? And then I asked my father, I got a couple of other questions. Does she swim with a knife in her mouth? Why, son? Well, Daddy, don't she have to go to the bathroom? For the restroom? Don't she have to fight sharks off if she's swimming in the ocean? So these are the things that I was inquisitive about early in the game. But then they came on the radio and they started talking about the Olympic Games. Pop, what's that? He said, that's when the greatest athletes in the world come together, strong of mind and strong of body, to see who's the best. And right away I said to my father, I said, Pop, do they have swimming in the Olympics? He said, sure. I said, they ever had a black swimmer to represent America? He said, no. I said, I'm going to be the first. And then my father, after a year went by, he looked at me and said, son, we need to talk. He said, you're never going to go to the Olympics as a black swimmer. And I was kind of like offended when he told me that. I pushed off and I said to him, I said, Pop, I'm the best in New York. He said to me, he said, son, you're not going to be able to go. I said, why? And he put his hand out. When he put his hand out, he took his finger and he rubbed his skin. And when he did it, I thought he was rubbing a bug bite. But in essence, he was saying, because of the color of your skin, you will not be able to represent America. It's one thing not to be able to represent, but then to tell you to represent America, you thought it was a great thing to do. And then they tell you that they don't want you because of the color of your skin. Well, that kind of stuck with me a long time. And then I matriculated on from that to my Robin Hood days, where I used to, do a little burglary, hit them freight trains to feed people in the community and give them clothes in the community. And from there, the New York City police, two black detectives, they were very smart men. They said we could outrun him. He can run fast. We can't catch him, but we can catch him with our eyes. And they came to me and they told me, said, There's been some break-ins in the freight yards. We think we know who's doing it. We can't do anything to him until we catch him. And one of them brushed his nose up against mine and said, and we going to catch him. In other words, he's telling me, you better slow your roll.
Mm.
So then he said, Mr. Bryant said, go on, Mr. Lester, tell him to rest. And then he said that you have a special talent. And I looked at him, I said, what's that? He said, you're a runner. And I smirked. And I smirked not to be disrespectful. I smirked because he said, I'm going to run everybody in the neighborhood with runners. From that point on, they told me, so now you get on that track and run until we tell you to stop. And actually, they forgot about me. And when they did think about me, I must have run around the track 50 times. So then they gave me the number to the New York Pioneer Club, and that was a springboard to the history.
Sure, sure. Well, let me ask Mr. Beeman. Mr. Beeman, when did you first meet Jean Carlos, and what was that like?
Meeting John was quite an experience. I'm just anyway. Meeting John was my first was in high school, and I went to Jamaica High School, and I think he went to a school in Manhattan, if I'm not mistaken. And at the end of the day, John became well known for his sprints, but I think more so we had pretty much a lot in common in terms of where we come up and the things that we had done or getting ready to do or wanting to do. So it was quite interesting to meet up with John because our first trip in the Pioneer Club, we went to Puerto Rico, and that was the first time that I saw John really step out of a high school bag into a very competitive bag in running the 100 meters and then of course the 200 meters. I at the time was still learning how to jump and so forth. And I had some great teachers at the time, and one of the guys was Charlie Mays, who was on the trip with us, and also Russ Rogers, also veterans of the game. And so this is when my first time ever seeing John really run, and he let it hang out. I was like, wow, this cat is fast, man. This guy, I mean, he's on another path. I said, man, I wish I could be as fast as he, but as they say, you need to stay in your lane, Bob, because that ain't what you do. So, and as we got older and got very involved into the elite level of competition, I definitely wanted to stay in my lane because it was too fast in them other lanes over there. So that's why I remained a long jumper. So, but
Sure,
he was simply had the talent from the very beginning, and that was out of high school.
sure, sure. So, Coach, what was that moment like watching these two athletes in '68 at the Olympics in Mexico for you
Um,
as an athlete, as a coach, as somebody involved in sport?
Well, it was interesting because I was able to see. I didn't get to the Olympic trials. I mean, I didn't get to the Olympics. I didn't make the team, but I was able to get the second stage of the Olympic trials. So the '68 Olympics, I could have been in Mexico, but but when I had a guy like JoJo White, oh man, I mean, JoJo kind of deterred my efforts, but. No more than a good friend. But the guys, they were the talk of the country. Of course, my involvement was I was the first black to play basketball for a major high school in the South. Andy Heidelberg was the first football player. We're doing a massive integration thing, and I was recruited by Reverend Lowry, Abernathy, and of course had several calls with the great the one himself, Dr. Martin Luther King. So that's how I got into it. In my career, when I went and did what I did and became All American, these things, I was ready to make my transition then into college. And actually, what happened was the service, of course. And me and a guy named Mike Bird who made it, we went down and really had a chance to see these cats because, it's two completely different sections between basketball and, of course, at Colorado Springs and that. But we were at the University of Colorado for a minute, and that's how we got into it. And I lost it. But the first time I saw them really in action. And of course, we saw, all the guys. The boxers and everyone there, and some of the cats. Of course, I was with the Olympic basketball trials, but these guys were the talk of it, along with, of course, I would George Foreman and the cats. But the eye was on Bob Beeman. This guy was doing things, and then you saw the collaboration with John and Bob, and you could see something feeding off each other. So with that being, man, the first time I saw him was so inspiring. The guys, and being from New York, I knew of them from New York as well, but this was something to see because they handled themselves with a lot of class. And you could tell something was up because they were speaking more about things beyond track and field, but they stayed on a mission. And next thing I knew, I was looking at them that in Mexico City, and I wasn't able to make it. But again, Bob Barrett took Mike Barrett, I should say. But from then on, they became something special. And for me to get to know them and become friends and close friends and supporters of whatever their mission statement in sports and media is something I dwell. These are guys that you can really call at the end of the day your friends.
And
And
here's
you would
something,
do
Coach.
that's what's necessary to help them.
Say, Coach, I was listening to what you were saying, and I'm reflecting, and I'm saying, well, I'm go back in time with Bob so far back. Let me think, and I tried and come up with something that would reflect who we were and how we came through, and I can only think about this cartoon called Heckle and Jekyll. If you remember that cartoon, Bob, you see that you know right away what it is.
Yeah, Heckle and Jekyll, yep.
Heckle and Jekyll. That's the way me and Bob used to have to work to come through where we come to.
Sure. Well, let me ask you. Yeah.
I was gonna say they didn't lay no red carpet down for us. We had to make a carpet.
But these guys are so extroverted in their personalities and their demeanor and their talk for I would say clinician activities for kids. It goes far beyond that because they got a great message for the parents to go into the kids or how they can keep these kids in a particular order. And that's something special to me and Wally and the whole group of professional legends that are involved in the program. These guys always can come up with a messaging that's adequate for the time and for the need. And I will be, very, very not remiss not to say that we definitely will be there in Bermuda helping anything that you or the Bermuda Sports and the organization with David Bascom and your dear friends in the government to help support and facilitate the proper attitudes and concepts for Bermuda sports, a tremendous place for breeding and refining the attitudes of your young athletes. I'm quite sure these guys will be more than willing to be amenable to your efforts there, Earl. Yeah.
Sure. Thanks for
Oh,
that.
listen, I can tell you right now that Bermuda is going to be one of the pillars of the sport throughout the world. What they've done just in the last year and a half, it just gives them wide open spaces because their performance has been great in terms of hosting golf. They were dying to return. PGA as well as the Black Golf Tournament.
Yes.
They had the track and field championships come through there. They're still raving about that today. So yes. I don't see anything but, smelling the roses with that. It's got a lot of helium left in that balloon. It's going to rise. So I'm just so happy that we have a family.
Yes, yeah, we've done quite a bit over the last, like you said, year and a half, as
Yes,
far as making sure that people know where we are and what we're capable of doing, especially in hosting events and that track and field event. Yes, they are still raving about that, and
right.
hopefully may it last for a long time because I think many more athletes will be knocking on the door to come to Bermuda to showcase their
Well,
talent.
they're gonna get a treat when they get there. They're gonna get a treat when they get there because
Sure.
it's beautiful people, it's beautiful country, and they got to get out on the boat. They got to go there, and get on one of them boats, and through the canal there.
Yeah, through the channel. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely, definitely. So let me ask, Mr. Beeman, when after your event, you go to the presentation, you make your statement. The thought process in making this statement, how much time did you run that through your mind of what you wanted the statement to be? At that time, such a young age, you're looking to change so much. But what was the thought process in the approach to that statement being made?
Well,
Earl, are you talking to Mr. Beeman or Mr.
Beeman,
Carlos?
Mr. Beeman, Mr. Beeman.
Okay.
well, first of all, uh, I made a statement after the statement that John and Tommy made. Um, I think it was 2 days before. 2 days before I jumped. I want to say that uh, John and Tommy made a statement and was in reference to human rights, and it was taken and interpreted by Avery Brundage, who was considered as a person that didn't care for blacks or Jews or Asians or and I think he possibly sympathized with Hitler, or he was uh, there in '36 when Hitler hosted the 1936 games.
Mhm.
So we were carrying uh, a big responsibility because I think uh, as the world was looking at us, they were looking at us uh, as troublemakers, probably. And it followed all the way through and was interpreted totally differently. I mean, it should have been uh, human rights that um, we were participating in showing the other parts of the world that it was great to win a gold medal, but when we go home to nothing. I mean, we go home, we don't even have a we don't, and so we represent America just like white people represented America, but they were doing all the good things. And so um, after John and Tommy did their thing, I mean, all hell broke loose. Uh, not only in the village, but also pretty much around the world when this broke out. And so when I got up on the stand to receive my gold medal, uh, my teammate Ralph Boston said, we're going to have to be showing a different way of protest because the hit uh, is going to be devastating, and um, I'm sure that John will express uh, what that devastation meant in terms of what they did. Now, I pulled up my pants and had my socks on, my black socks, and I protested in that sense. But I had lost my scholarship in protest to the boycott that I did with Brigham Young about 5 months before the Olympic Games. And so I and 10 other athletes had lost their scholarships in protest of what Brigham Young practiced in religion, et cetera, et cetera. So we were getting ready to compete against them, the University of Texas at El Paso and Utah. And we decided not to go. And we lost our scholarships for that. So we had already lost a lot. But then John and them, they stood in front of the world and made a point. And my ending comment would be that they went out and talked about human rights. But you know what? Right now we're right in the middle of human rights again. So it has really never gone away. It is now really surfacing so much now that it is, I think, has affected America in more than one way. But anyway, that uh, uh, could give you just a little bit of what we were doing back in '68.
Sure. And just before I go to Dr. Joan Carlos, I wanna play an interview that was held right after the event with Howard Cosell. So let's get a bit of this.
The United States leads the Olympics in medal awards and is just about supreme in the sprint races, thanks to men like Tommy Smith and John Carlos. Yesterday, they came in first and third in the 200-meter dash, and then stood on the victory platform with bowed heads, wearing black socks and gloves in a racial protest. Before the Olympics, there was a furor in this country over a threatened boycott by Negro athletes. Then most of them decided that participation in the Olympic would further the cause of civil rights in this country and abroad. The Negro athletes wear buttons reading Olympic Project for Human Rights. There were some boos in the stadium last night. ABC sports editor Howard Cosell spoke to Tommy Smith after he accepted his gold medal.
Tommy, would you explain to the people of America exactly what you did and why you did it?
First of all, Howard, I would like to say I'm very happy to have won the gold medal here in Mexico City. The right glove that I wore on my right hand signified the power within Black America. The left glove, my teammate John Carlos wore on his left hand, made in art, my right hand to his left hand, also signify Black unity. The scarf that was worn around my neck signified blackness. John Carlos and me wore socks, black socks without shoes, to also signify our poverty.
And this is the motivation, the symbolism of what you did. Now, do you think you represented all Black athletes in doing this?
I can say I represented Black America. I'm very proud to be a Black man, as I said earlier, and also to have won the gold medal. And this, I thought,
that I could.
Well, Dr. Carlos, just listening to that, how much does it bring back memories to you? It's probably something you never, ever, ever forget. But the similar question that I had for Mr. Beeman, to you, what was the thought process going in and meeting making such a remarkable statement?
Well, going into the games, I was really disappointed that we couldn't unify our athletes enough to actually boycott the games. And
Mm,
the bottom line with that was, we felt all we could do is make sure that everybody knew what cards were on the table, what was at stake. We researched everything, and the choice was theirs. I thought we could stick together and make a statement, and they chose to run for the medal. So by the time I got to the games, I was still disenchanted with the fact that they had boycotted the game. They didn't boycott the games. So I approached Mr. Smith and said to him, I was disenchanted about that, and I wanted to make a statement. What was your take on it? And he said he agreed with me, and we put our artifacts together, and 45 minutes later, we were out there making that statement.
mm.
So,
And talk.
it was a matter of being born for that day to do what we did.
Take us through the before I go back to Coach Hatcher. Take us through how the treatment back in America affected you guys, or the black athletes in '68 that made the statement. How America treated you after the fact.
Yeah, I hate to put this like religion. How did they treat Jesus Christ? I mean, now I ain't trying to put myself with Jesus Christ unless far as the pain go with humanity responding or treating anyone in the manner in which they treated us. For someone that wore a badge and made a statement and said this statement is for humanity to, hey, check yourself. And then, for racism to turn into a viper at that time, and they got other people fanning the fire, like blowing the wind under their wings, so to speak. So, quite naturally, it was rough, but we felt the roughness was secondary to the importance of what we did.
Mm, mm. And Coach, you would have felt similar, if not the same, when you moved into that being the first basketball person. So, how did you feel the statement that was made by these athletes in Mexico that reminisced what you were going through?
Well, it's almost like a deja vu to that point because for 3 years, I went through some pretty hard things. I would have tar babies hung on the flagpole in effigy. We had state police taking us to school, taking us to classes, taking us to the bathroom, taking us to the cafeteria, and then getting on the bus. And this what you can imagine a young man going through this. But the one thing I did have, not only the faith that I was always born on in the Lord, in the Lord Jesus, I really had a camaraderie because I was exposed early to the New York and the teen concept of race and doing the right thing and staying in the swim lane by playing high school Rutgers up in New York, the elite of the elite, the cream de la cream, and then being able to see these brothers as I was able to leave my situation and come into this particular arena of and beyond for the next level of my career. I had a good chance, and I knew I was going to get drafted, not in the NBA because of the quota systems and the craziness in there. The ABA was giving guys opportunity, just like any other things. So great talent, great opportunity. So me being in the Olympics, if I could go that strong, would be the caveat. But seeing these guys that night and what they did, it wasn't just me. It was all the cats that I played with and knew during that time who come up to have their careers bloom out with Wally and a good friend of ours, Jelly Bean, which was Kobe Bryant's dad, Jelly Bean Bryant, and all the guys. It was and the guys on my team. Oh man, it was beyond reproach. And even playing overseas, Earl, look, man, they were more loved and respected outside of the continental United States, Oconus, than they were here in the States. And that is really embarrassing because the time I played overseas and touring around, yeah, I stepped in and I said, hey, do you know John Carlos and Bob Beeman? I wasn't the type then, but I said, I know them as what they're doing and I will know them. So, that type of shit, God works that out. But just telling them and said, man, why do we appreciate the African American athletes better than America, where's their home? And then some of them back on the slavery issue. But it was so proud to be able to see them and the way they carried themselves and the way they commanded their oral presentations. Is pretty much where they are, under control and steady. That's the true cornerstone of a man that's grounded in what he does, and one that should be successful is they're grounded and take the time in what they want to present themselves as being. So I guess the short way to say it, Earl, it goes right on to where the Lord has led us at today. Some of the greatest fraternity of the greatest legends in the world are a part of what we do, and we're very, very proud to disseminate what we do, being the proxy for bringing their stories that a lot of kids don't even know, bringing their stories to light, and coming to this point where we're leaving into now. Earl, it's all about history and helping these young kids to see what other people have done to make them successful. We'll give them an opportunity.
We just lost Mr. Beeman, but Dr. Carlos, as Coach Hatcher just indicated, he's back now. The struggles back in the United States of America. How did you address, I guess, the negativity? Pointed at the black athletes coming back to their quote unquote homeland.
Is there a difference in the negativity that's been displayed from day one to the present day relative to their response to our cries or our needs or our pain? Nothing has changed. Anything changes is when you come together as one, and we are far from being one. Our job, our mission is to bring some clarity to people of color, blacks in particular, and let them know that you have to form an intelligent group to sit down and solve this equation that we have before us. And the biggest part of it is bringing us together in a unified vein to be one. I could take 5 bowling balls and run them down, wouldn't knock all the pins down. I could take 1 bowling ball and knock all the pins down. So we're stronger as one. And until we realize that, we're spinning our wheels. But I am glad to see that your island there is stepping up and say we can do the same thing that they've been doing in Europe for years. We can host.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And Mr. Beeman, just hearing what Dr. Carlos is talking about, the trying to unify, the black race, and especially in sport, because as we all know, we've all been involved in sport. Sport is something that can galvanize a nation. So why do you think it's been a struggle, and why do you think the door has always been kind of slightly ajar, but not enough for us to keep making headway?
Well, I had made a comment a couple of weeks back when we were in Eugene, Oregon for the World Games, and it was a very similar question that was mentioned. Well, I use the word painful. America has been in a very painful situation for a long time. And back in the 60s, um, they used to say, oh, they let the cat out of the bag. So everything was quiet, it seemed like everybody was going for the okie doke. But that period was a period where protest was in an incredible amount of places in this country. And so uh, when John and Tommy did their thing, they expressed something that was very painful to white America, and as of today, it is still a very painful situation where it seems like they don't want to talk about it, but it's there. I mean, this is 55, almost 55 years later, and John is still talking about human rights. It's incredible. But as we say, America was an experiment, and we're still experimenting. But I think the word should be described as that we're in a very painful situation right now in America. But we've got people like John who has experienced uh, pain before, and a great deal of pain too, family, and I mean, the story is unbelievable about what happened to these guys. And so I would say that our program, Two for One, will talk about so many aspects of this painful road that we've been going through since we were youngsters, since we were teenagers, or since we were younger than teenagers, when we were 4 and 5 years old, when we were 7 and 8. So the pain is still there. And I'm not sure if many of the people want to, and particularly the white people, I don't know if they are really trying to understand uh, how painful it is of what has happened in the past and what is going on today. And so uh, if you ask John, John will tell you straight on up, you know, what's it about. And that's what I love about John. And that's why we have this Two for One program where we will tell you all the things that you need to hear and to understand better of what is the making of America.
Hmm. Well, let me go back to John then, and John, Dr. Collis, listening to Mr. Beeman, advising our young people of the challenges that you guys faced throughout your life, and then kind of understanding and moving in another direction. What's your message to the young people today, to not only forget what has been done in the past, but to move forward collectively?
You never forget what's done in the past. You forgive and have some understanding, but you never forget. And I forgot, it'd have been put it on me a long time ago again. But my suggestion to any young individuals would be to get in touch with themselves. Really take a good look at who they are. Evaluate themselves in terms of what gifts they feel like they have, whether they can sing, whether they can communicate. Well, look on the other side of the sheet and say, what do I need to work on? What can I do to make my negatives a positive, a better situation? Find out who they are. Then they have an opportunity to start to put their map together in terms of what they want out of the life that they have. You understand? When you find out who you are, a lot of things are included in that. You find out about love. A lot of our kids, black kids in particular, don't know what love is because anybody been around to express no love to them. So once we get these components together, and in terms of instilling our kids to build them from the structure, sometimes you might think, man, high school might be too late. Maybe we need to start getting young kids at grade school and giving them what we have that has gone through the tunnel and been through this and seen what's going on, so our kids will be protected and know how to get around these situations. You know, you have to take into account that Mr. Beeman and I have been blessed. I mean, we come out from the inner cities and had an opportunity to see the world rather than just being in front of a geography map or a globe. Most of our kids in our communities haven't gone 10 blocks beyond where they were born. So when you sit back and think about it, when all the dust settles, if you see nothing, you want nothing. You're talking about, oh, blacks are lazy, they don't want anything. Well, you ain't showed me nothing. Only thing that helped us back in the day when they tried to stop us from learning how to read and write and so forth is the fact that God gave us a strong imagination. But now it's time for us to start picking up and start putting our kids to realize what education is all about. We still have our parents running around. Our kids go to school 180 days a year. And some of our kids are absent out of school 150 days a year, and you never get a phone call or a letter from the school say your kid is absent from school. So something is wrong. Somebody ain't doing their job. And I ain't going to put it on nobody administration. It look like the parent ain't doing their job. So when we get down and start taking care of some business like that, because ain't no need me pointing my fingers at the white man because he ain't never changed. Now I'm starting to bring the fingers back and point at me. What are we doing?
Yeah. Coach?
If you step back and say, we're the least economic people in the world, black people in America, but when all the math is said and done, who's the most individuals that spend the most money? It's us. So when we start putting the dots together, if we slow down one day and realize, say, a lot of entities that's out there we could have for ourselves. You understand? It's just a matter of us putting our minds together and realizing what we can do.
Sure. Coach?
Yeah.
You want to jump in there?
Well, you know, the thing is as a conclave of what we're talking about, baby. Well, look, we want all the people who are really concerned about the values of the children of today to really listen to those that can be a surrogate and a push to what's going on. What we're doing right now is not new. We've been doing this a long time. We've just come now to the apex and a zenith opportunity for us to be able to let the voices of those who are respected around the world come to those that are the most vulnerable and could utilize it to be heard. We give them news, as we say, that they can use, not just for the kids, for the family, for the community itself. So what we're doing is grabbing and corralling and organizing over 200 or 300 of the greatest sports legends of the world. We're talking about our fraternity of sports, and it is fraternity. Whether you're a professional basketball player, football player, track, and if you are a professional and you are a member of that elite and God-blessed fraternity. So basically what we want to do is what Wally Jones, our dear friend and all of us, says, hey, listen, we have to gather the voices of the legends of sports because this tongue that we speak is the only tongue that can be heard all around the world and be listened to attentively. When legends speak, people listen. It's not just something we came up with, Earl and the listeners. We're here to make sure that you have the greatest sports legends of the world with the right intent, with the grace of God, to be able to come to anywhere needed to let them know that we are there to give you all the advice for life you have, because life now is a business. It's a 24-hour job for a lady or a mother to raise a child and be a mother. Now, it used to be a break, now it's a 24/7 plus. So therefore, we can show how local legends, local heroes, guys like yourself, Earl, and David Bascom, can do the same, what you call, template of surrogacy ship to our kids, because when you talk to them, they'll listen. And that's the only thing that we can do at this time, is tell our kids, don't forget for where you came from, because you sure don't know where you're going.
Yes, indeed.
You don't live life for tomorrow. You live life day by day. So that's what we do. And this is what it's all about. Tim Reed, God bless his soul, is doing something that now can help that vehicle of communication go all over the world with people like, or organizations like Bermuda Sports and more, for all of our kids to be able to have that voice of surrogacy ship there. And not only with the guys, now the girls, little girls got big girls to look up to now. And they are just as important and just as demanding and just as impactful right now than ever before. So therefore, we're bringing the whole family of legends right here to be available through Sports Inside and Out, Legends of Sports, that are becoming internationally now with Tim's legacy film and TV. You'll be able to have these certain segues like 2-for-1. For all those that love track and field, all those that love something outside of the major line sports, will have the real chance to listen to someone that's been through it and know what life in sports and community is all about. So that's basically what it's all about, man. And I just, this is what I'm so proud of, because we got the cream de la cream of the legends, who are very hard to get to sometimes. But we got these guys taking their time to say, hey, coach, put me in the game, And that's a thrill to be able to have Bob Beamon, John Carlos, Wally Jones, George Gervin, Magic Johnson, Charlie Scott, Oscar Robertson, all the greats of our time are right here available to be a part of that tutorial that we're trying to do for our youth. And it's a worldwide thing that we're dealing with.
And Spencer Haywood.
Yes. Well, I personally want to thank both of you gentlemen for joining us this evening. I know you are both very, very extremely busy, but to take time out to share just a little bit of your journey with me and the viewers. And I want to thank Coach for inviting you guys on. And we look forward to a long-lasting relationship and possibly having you guys, in a place like Bermuda, just reminiscing about life. And I know, Dr. Carlos, you're going to make a journey back, because I think we got you hooked on our island.
You got that right, buddy. You got that right. I'm applying for a citizenship.
Well, again, gentlemen, thank you very, very much. Coach, I do appreciate you.
All right.
And we look forward to getting together again really, really soon.
Okay, man. Thanks a lot, and God bless
Hey,
the
Coach.
citizens of Bermuda. And David Bascom, we want to send our condolences to David Bascom, great soccer legend for Bermuda,
Right.
and also
Hey,
a
a greater friend.
yes.
Hey, Coach, before we go,
Yeah.
just to let you know, man, you see the flat that me and Bob Beamon and I are equals. I was a little boy in the crib when I used to see Bob out there in junior high school. Okay? I look older than Bob, but I'm younger than Bob. Bob is my senior. I was a little boy. I used to watch him, man, for the stroller. He'd be in the park thinking he was a ball player then.
Are you finished, John?
Yes, sir.
Oh,
Yes, I'm done, brother.
you got to wake up, man. You've been in a sleep, you know. So wake up and smell the coffee.
Gentlemen, thank you very, very much. Enjoy your night.
Thank
Good
you.
night, brother. Take care.